My God, I hate drugs.
Yung image ng Senate also, you'll have to make sure that you are taking care of it. Well, I'm optimistic that it will remain the same or might even be better. Kasi yung trabaho na ginagawa namin, may kahirapan pero ginagawa at nagagawa. Yun ang mahalaga because 24 lang kami.
The United States has withdrawn an invitation to China to participate in what has been described as the world's largest international maritime warfare exercise. A Pentagon spokesman said in a statement that China's behavior is inconsistent with the principles of the Rim of the Pacific exercise. A U.S. official says the decision to withdraw China's invitation was made by Defense Secretary James Mattis in coordination with the White House. That's after Beijing's recent deployment of missile systems and the first landing of a Chinese bomber aircraft in the South China Sea. China responded to the decision, saying that the move by the U.S. is unconstructive and unhelpful. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg met with one of the world's most tech-savvy world leaders, French President Emmanuel Macron. Zuckerberg is in Europe to talk about strict new data privacy regulations across the continent being rolled out this week. On Tuesday, he apologized to the European Parliament for the way his company has handled fake news and election meddling.
Australian nun sister Patricia Fox is not giving up the fight despite the Immigration Bureau's denial on her appeal to reinstate her missionary visa. In a 3-page order signed May 17th, the Immigration Bureau's Board of Commissioners reaffirmed its order forfeiting the visa of Sister Fox and ordering her to leave the country. Immigration Commissioner Jaime Morentes says the order is final and executory, and they will no longer entertain another appeal. The board also dismissed Fox's assertion that the Bureau forfeited her visa without due process and that allegations she engaged in political activities were not backed with solid evidence. Fox's lawyers say the nun will not yet leave the country and that they will exhaust all available legal remedies to challenge the immigration order. The lawyers explain they will appeal the decision before the Justice Department. Fox's lawyers earlier sought a reversal of the Immigration Board's April 23rd ruling directing her to leave the country within 30 days. That order lapses today. CNN Philippines interviewed Sister Fox earlier this month, and she made an appeal to the president to reconsider her situation.
I mean, Sana, what I've been doing is trying to be with the people in their cause for justice, for land, for freedom, and Sana, the government will always hear those calls. And personally, Sana, I can say, I love being with the people. And even now, we were down in Tagum, sa mga banana plantations. Mga 2 years ago, I went down there again because they wanted their land back from the agri-business venture agreement, and it wasn't benefiting, like Hacienda Luisita with the stock distribution. They weren't benefiting. Kaya gusto nila, kukunin ang lupa nila. At that time, binaril ang mga kanyan. Now, bumalik sila, mga trees like, ay, may mais na, may mga iba't ibang gulay. And they look, mahirap pa rin, pero there's a different, parang masaya sila.
Pakiramdam nila.
Oo, kaya yan ang mga magandang
alaala.
Oo.
Malacanang stands by the Immigration Bureau's decision to deny the appeal of Sister Fox. In a short statement, presidential spokesperson Hagi Roque said, quote, "We respect the decision of the Bureau of Immigration. That is the law. But there are several groups who are on the nun's side. The Kilusang Magbubukid ng Pilipinas says the immigration order is, quote, an outright act of political persecution. While the College Editors Guild of the Philippines says, quote, Fox's deportation is the intensification of the Duterte regime's crackdown against dissenters and critics, along with advocates of the welfare of the millions of oppressed sectors in the country. Karapatan also decries the immigration order. The group says the order is, quote, an act of reprisal by a vengeful, paranoid, insecure, and anti-people regime that knows no other way to hide its crimes but to further infringe on people's civil liberties and political rights, to go after its perceived enemies and critics. Moving on to another story, the Philippine General Hospital will temporarily close its emergency room beginning June 1st. Speaking to CNN Philippines, PGH spokesperson Jonas Del Rosario said the government hospital will undergo renovation for about 10 months. This will improve the hospital's capacity to handle emergency cases. Del Rosario advises the public to look for other hospitals since PGH may not be able to cater to non-life-threatening cases.
Gumawa po kami ng makeshift na kumbaga temporary ER, habang ginagawa itong emergency room complex. Ililipat po namin yung emergency room sa Ward 14B, Ward 14A, I'm sorry. Pero dahil po ililipat lang ito sa isang ward, ibig sabihin po ay limitado lang ang kapasidad nitong ER na ito. Kaya po kami nananawagan sa publiko at binibigyan po sila ng advice na kung pwede po na sa ibang ospital na lang sila magpunta, lalo na kung hindi naman po talaga ganong ka-emergency yung kanilang complaint.
PGH has long been the choice of poor patients because of its low rates brought about by government subsidy.
From the top stories here in the country to headlines across the globe, authorities have started distributing an experimental vaccine in Mbandaka, a major city in the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is to try to stop the spread of the deadly Ebola virus. Healthcare workers in Mbandaka will be the first to receive the vaccine, followed by contacts of confirmed Ebola cases. The vaccination drive is expected to reach the epicenter of the outbreak in the rural Bicoro by Thursday. The confirmation of the first case in Mbandaka last week has raised concerns that the virus could spread faster than expected. So far, 26 people have died in the outbreak, according to the World Health Organization. The search for Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 will end next week after more than 4 years. The search cost tens of millions of dollars but yielded no clue of what happened to the ill-fated plane. Malaysia's cabinet agreed to a request by the U.S. company operating the search to extend the hunt until May 29. Malaysia says there will be no more extensions after that.
The Labor Department has good news for Filipinos who wish to work in Kuwait. This goes hand in hand with proposed measures to protect overseas Filipino workers there. Our senior correspondent, Cecilar Dezabal, has that story.
Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello says skilled workers can now look for jobs in Kuwait after confirming the president has lifted the ban on sending workers there. But household service workers will have to wait until the implementing rules and regulations on lifting the ban are finalized in a week. Household service workers or domestic workers are now required to obtain a technical education and skills development authority or TESDA certification before they can go to Kuwait.
Baka pwede na natin institutionalize yung requirement right now from the POEA na ang household service workers dapat at least you are a TESDA NC2 holder nung before i-deploy kasi mas maraming nabibiktima yung mga hindi adept.
Labor authorities during a Senate hearing agree that carrying out some provisions of the Memorandum of Agreement with Kuwait should be institutionalized to make it mandatory. Senate Labor Committee Chair Joel Villanueva says a number of laws are not implemented properly. This includes the data system to monitor distressed Filipino workers in Kuwait.
In fact, inamin nila na mayroon namang data available yung sa DOLE, available yung sa POEA, available yung sa DFA. Pero yung sinasaad ng batas, 23 years na ito'y dapat makulate into a database at maibigay sa PSA, hindi pa rin nila nagagawa. No? So yun, medyo nakakadismaya talaga. And as I mentioned earlier, it's unacceptable.
Besides improving the monitoring system, a joint committee will be set up to assess the condition of Filipino workers in Kuwait, especially household service workers. In addition, the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration will conduct training for household helpers and foreign employers on the rights of workers. Labor authorities also discussed setting standards and protocols in rescuing distressed Filipino workers in the wake of the controversial rescue video that caused a strain in relations with Kuwait. Labor records show Kuwait is the preferred destination of Filipino workers, with 262,000 of them now in the Gulf state. There's an estimated more than 10,000 undocumented workers as well.
Ang record namin will show that only 1.7% are victims of.
Is it for household service workers or for the entire?
The entire one.
Entirely.
A number of Senate bills are pending on overseas worker assistance and protection. Cecil Ardizabal, CNN Philippines.
Happening today, the Trade Department will carry out a special market monitoring activity. That is to assess the effects of the tax reform or train law on the prices of basic goods. The government assures the public it is taking steps to minimize the negative impact of the train law. It's also a busy day in Marawi. This morning, City Mayor Majul Gandamra will sign a memorandum of understanding between the local government, Social Housing Finance Corporations, and UN Habitat. In the afternoon, the so-called Marawi Week of Peace will officially end, a day after the first anniversary of the siege. President Duterte will be in Davao City. He will lead the inauguration of the Davao River Bridge widening project. That will happen at 4 in the afternoon at the CP Garcia Highway.